Hello, this is Alvaralonso. We'll be playing some games.
Game started.
It's Glamurius. Igor Kovalenko. Oh, quite a strong player. Let's see how it goes. Let's try a5. I want to test if this line is still viable or is just bad. Okay, the main line is d4, take bishop g5. Now black wants to play. Okay, takes. I will. Uh, so what now? Hmm, should think of a good display of pieces. I'm thinking of bishop g7, c5, 97, 96. 97. I rather place it here. Now c5, for example. Have to play b6 maybe, and then c5. I don't know. Just castle, b6, for example. Now f6. If d4, I can play bishop e6 first, and then okay, just take a bishop f7. I might be good there. Okay, b3, now c5. It's kind of pleasant. Now knight c6, and all my pieces are pretty well placed. So knight c6. What now? Okay, that's kind of an overreaction. He may have some troubles here. Uh, for example, if bishop g4, I don't think it's quite worth because knight h2 and I have to go back to e6. So there's no point. Maybe after h5 I can just play g5. So yeah, d7. Just connect the rooks. Here, if he wants to play h5, I can play g5. No problem whatsoever. So knight e3. I can play knight e4, for example. Take, take, take. I have just a good position. Kovalenko is quite a strong player here. I don't know how he will display his pieces here. Maybe take, take knight d1 and try to play f4 sometime, but I have plenty of space and I'm not quite sure that he can castle safely. Long castle. Maybe I can just play a5. Okay, c3. Should I take or should I? Nah, I'll just retreat. I want to expose my king. And now d3 is a weak spot, so we can maybe play a5. A5 and a4. Cannot play a4, so it's an important thing to take in mind. Maybe. Okay, now I can play g5. But I have to. Man, I get into much trouble if I allow him to open the rook, the column. So here king h8, why not? d1, maybe he wants to play d4. I can play a4, a5 still. I'm threatening a4. Maybe he wants to play d4. Yeah, so why not? Okay, d8. We won't let him. Now a5, a4 seems quite a strong plan. Can play d4. Take, take. Nah, I can. Okay, a4. Okay, a4, a5, sorry. If you want to play knight c2, I can play bishop g4 also. So, not much of a deal. Maybe knight c2, bishop g4. But I don't. Okay, rook d2. a4 seems pretty good. Okay, he just castles there. He wants to. He wants to just rook h1 d4. Might be worse here. I don't know. If I play here, can take everything and then queen g6 and take on here. h6 with my queen will be displaced, so I don't think is it worth it. So have to be better here. He cannot play just he cannot just play d4 and sacrifice a pawn. And I have the bishop. Okay, can take. Yeah, this seems pretty obvious. And now, for example, g4 comes into mind. What if g4? He can take d5. And again, I'm threatening taking on f3, so he must be careful. And if he plays knight h4 or knight d4 and then c5, I'm almost winning. So he has to play d5. We agree on that because otherwise, oh, he also has this one, but okay, can take. And with the same idea, knight d4. When I have a strong piece here, I will play c5. This h6 pawn is falling. Okay, d4. Okay, I can take. I can take. I don't see the point of the sacrifice. My rook is defending d4. Now I can play c5. If knight f5, I can take on e4. He has to play knight f5, more or less. Maybe he will play knight c2 in order to play rook e1 and running rook a7. But okay, I can play queen d3, queen c3. Should be winning. Knight e5. What if I take? Well, just take. Rook ac8. Rook c2 now. Rook c2. And now g3. We'll play queen a1. Okay, g3 seems pretty good. He cannot play. He cannot take as I have made on g2. I think I'm winning, right? Queen a7. Okay. He's threatening mate, so we gotta be careful. So I can just play rook g8, right? What's the problem? I take on f2. I'm threatening taking on f2 and then rook g2 check. So, and white is hopeless. He's just lost. Pretty nice game. I don't know. Nah, he's losing, right? Yes, he resigned. Well, that was an interesting idea. I thought, well, I thought it was an interesting plan because it's quite easy to play with black pieces. Okay, if the main line is d4, as I was telling to you, e4, bishop g5, bishop e7. Now white takes on e7, queen e7, takes on c6, dc6, and queen d4. And this is the standard position. And you can also display that on chess base if it's easier to you. So there, black wants to play knight f6 and knight c3, and white has a pleasant structure, has a good pieces in the center, but black has plenty of space, has an open column which can be used by any rook, and he can castle long, castle short. Okay, it's a small advantage for white, but maybe a long one, so that's why it's not quite popular to play g6, because it seems that black is suffering. But on the other lines, it seems pretty good. Okay, he takes, he cannot take on e5, of course, because queen d4, defending both pawns and forcing to play king f1, and okay, have both bishops, I can castle quick, and there's not much trouble with my queen there. So d3, bishop g7, knight e7. I don't know. The other plan is to play something like queen e7, knight f6, knight e7. But with my bishop here, uh, I don't see the point of playing of traveling with the knight to e6. I think this is a decent plan. Maybe here, bishop e3, knight d2, and here I was wondering if white can play b4. Quite an interesting positional idea. So what's the idea? b4 wants to delay c5 for black or avoid at all. Well, black cannot play c5 anymore, and if a5 just a3, and white has a pretty good control of the center. White can also later on play c3 and d4 and have a pretty good center, and this pawn structure is not quite mobile, so I may have troubles later on defending c7, for example, after this pawn is changed. And I don't know, maybe if he wants to play b4, I have to play f5 quick, right? As yeah, I can play f5 quick. Cannot take. Maybe I can here just play f5. No, that but I rather um, play it after b6 and b4. So b4 is always hanging in so many lines. I can win some tempos with queen d6 or knight d5, for example, later on, and the c3 spot is weak. The diagonal is open. So yeah, maybe if he tries to play before, I can play f5. So maybe I'm just in a good position here. Here f6, of course, wants to defend, and here maybe he has to play d4. He just lets me play c5, knight c6, bishop e6, a5. I'm better. Even he's not. He has to fight for equality. So d4, for example, was the other one. Bishop e6, threatening the knight, knight d2, and here I can just take, and bishop f7, for example, and I will play, for example, c5 and f5. I have plenty of counterplay in this diagonal, so I might not have troubles at all. Yeah, queen d2, bishop e6, b3, c5. So here, what's the threat? White maybe has to play f4 in some day, some year, but black can just take, and f5 is a threat. All my pieces are well coordinated. These double pawns are quite useful. And this pawn defends b6, so I can play a5. It's more flexible. This knight has not access to d6. Yeah, it's a pretty good structure, right? If you have these kind of positions in the Spanish variations, you want to play this. Okay, the usual path to get to this structure is to play knight f6, for example, knight e7, knight f8, knight e6, and black's bishop is on d6. But here makes less sense to do that. And if I can just go to c6 directly, it's pretty good. h4, queen d7, okay, knight d4. Oh no, maybe just a5. Okay, I just want to show some presence here. If he takes, I can take with c pawn, and then just very simple c5 before b5 c4. This plan is it's quite not impressing at all, and I can just play g5 always. I can even play h5 if necessary. And here, okay, I can take, but okay, I'd rather not, because if I take, he takes, he can later on play, for example, knight g2 and f4, and okay, he has a plan. I don't want him to have a plan, an easy plan. But okay, it seems good, and also good. Okay, knight c6, h5, g5, here, 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 here. Queen b2, yeah, h4, i5. So I saw that he cannot play d4 because I have g4 always the intermediate. So I prefer to open the columns, so I have more chances. And this pawn is quite weak, so he has to play rook b1, for example, and now I can play queen g6 and take on h6. It's pretty good. He has to play d4 or something crazy to as he did. And here, okay, he took. Here he has troubles, of course, because if d5, okay, I can just take. If he takes the bishop, my knight will be placed on d4, and I have a pretty annoying pawn. So he has to just play this. And here, after knight d4, I think I'm doing really good, because if he takes, I just take with the queen, defend the weak pawn g4. I'm threatening c5, defending all the structure, and I'm threatening also knight f3 check. It's quite an interesting check because king is quite exposed. So He opted to sacrifice, but I don't think it's a good sacrifice. I can just take. Okay, he wants to disrupt my structure, but okay, I got too much activity of it. So after G3, it's winning position. So it was quite a nice game against. I think he was like Igor Kovalenko was like close to 2700 or 2700. Okay, was a nice game. I hope you enjoyed.